it was for a good cause. So, we are calling this meeting to order. Welcome once again.
Microphone.
Hello, can you hear me better than that? I really don't want to be all that loud, but that's all right. Once again, welcome to our meeting tonight. We appreciate you all being here. Thank you for waiting those couple extra minutes. We were a tad busy, but it was for a good reason. And let us all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at this point. Brett's going to start us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And hopefully forevermore. All right. Number 3 on our agenda is approval of the agenda as presented. Do we have a motion to consider the agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0. All right. Approval of our minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the study session and regular study and voting session from our meeting on March 3rd and our special study discussion session on March 26th of this year?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any nays? Passes 5-0. All right, let's move on to number 5, approval of our donations. We would like to hear about our donations from Jen.
Right. I didn't scroll to the page.
Okay, I have the, you want it? I can give it to you right away.
I'm good. It'll scroll here in a second.
Page 22.
It's not loading. It's not loading. Do you have yours up?
I do, I have it on page 22 here.
I might have it on my tablet in a
Do you
sec.
wanna read
Oh,
it
I
from
have it
here?
on my
You got it?
tablet. We'll get there. Okay, we had one donation from Bill and Cindy Gahn for $150, from Lou Benetone for $100 for the PHS Hall of Fame. Both of those were for PHS Hall of Fame. Lori Hobrick for $1,000 to the Family Resource Center. Mary Bronson for $3,500. She donated a vehicle to our PHS Auto Club. Arizona Educational Foundation in the amount of $500 to Lincoln Elementary School, A+ Award. A donation from Howard and Gail Stein in the amount of $50 for PHS student activities. And another one from Clark and Carla Lashmet in the amount of $50, also for PHS. Oh, that's for the Indigenous Club specifically. And then Yavapai Prescott Indian Tribe, $1,000 to the Indigenous Club.
Excellent,
So,
thank you. Do I have
lots
an
of them.
motion to approve those donations?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the donations, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 5-0. And once again, we thank all of our community members for making those donations. Those are pretty awesome. All right, we have some presentations tonight we're excited to talk about. Our first one is from the Launch Pad. I've personally been there several times. It's a pretty fun place to hang out. So ladies and gents, it's all yours. Don't forget to introduce yourself.
All right, hello, my name is Suli Sherman. I'm a sophomore at PHS, and this is getting presented by the Teen Advisory Council at the Launchpad.
I'm Bola Shelby. I'm a junior at PHS. Through our connection developed by the Teen Launchpad Board, thank you, Rebecca. The Teen Advisory Council has been invited to present the Better Together project that we have been developing at the World Beautiful Business Forum in Athens, Greece. Their event is from May 7th to 10th.
So at this meeting on the second day, we will be providing a luncheon, and we will be hosting a Better Together style dinner for all of the guests that will be coming to our lunch. And this allows TAC to spread our goal of civil discourse to an international level and hopefully get to see other people's perspectives on it and maybe give them some ideas for things that they can bring to their hometown for helping communication.
Hey, there you are.
All right, so like I said, my name is Sulie Sherman. I'm a sophomore at PHS, and I've been a part of TAC for about 2 years. And TAC has allowed me to work on my public speaking skills and also just to gain confidence in my values. It's really helped me to see how much I value certain things, such as communication, and specifically just sitting down at a table with people of all different ages and different perspectives, and the value of having that conversation and getting to see where everyone comes from. So I'm super excited to bring this to Greece and get to do that at an international level and see how the cultures change these conversations that we have and everyone's perspectives. So I'm super excited.
Who's next?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Seba. I am a senior at Prescott High School. I first joined TAC after I was put into the table lead position at a Better Together dinner. Before I even knew what TAC was, what it stood for, anything, I was just thankfully thrown into that lead role. And after observing the teens that were running this project, again, just a super quick run through of what Better Together is. It's the Teen Advisory Council noticed sort of a disconnect amongst the community, specifically with communication. So they started this project after taking a few surveys from the community, created a community dinner. And so we had quarterly community dinners where we would get together and talk about specifically controversial topics with people from the community of all sides of the political spectrum and different age groups, different racial backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and get together, talk about these controversial topics in a civil manner. And we had a team lead at each table. Usually that was a teen advisory council member, so a teen, talking with people from our community. And so when I was put into this position, I observed all of the teens who were leading this, and I thought they were doing an amazing job, and so I wanted to become part of that group. I later became the president of the Teen Advisory Council, and I'm now currently the vice president. And now we get to take this opportunity to the global scale, because communication and lack of communication is not just unique to Prescott and our community here, but it is something that's shared at the international level. So now we get to take this project to the international level and sort of, we don't know what effect this is going to have, but now we get to see what effect just a small group of teens in Prescott may have at this level. So that is really exciting for us, and we're really excited for this opportunity.
Yeah, so like I said, my name is Bola Shelby. I am a junior at PHS, and I've been a member of TAC for just over 2 years now. I was originally attracted to work with TAC because I heard of the work that they were doing in our community, and the lack of healthy communication between people that disagree in Prescott is a matter that's pretty near and dear to me, and I was really excited to help them with that. And in joining TAC, I got to really put myself out there in the community and work on skills that I wouldn't otherwise. I found myself public speaking, leading discussions, and those are skills I'm really grateful to have now be developing, and something I don't know if I would have found the opportunity for otherwise. So it's been really great to get to know the whole team and been working on that. We've been running TAC since around 2021. I think we've definitely made a lot of progress with the dinners, but there's still work to be done in the community, and I think the values and ideals of community in the face of disagreement and finding value in the views of people that you don't agree with is really important to just spread as much as we can going forward. And I'm really glad that we get to bring our ideas and Better Together projects to Greece and show it to a whole new group of people.
That's amazing.
My name is Ella Franz. I'm a junior at Prescott High School, and I joined TAC around 2 years ago, give or take, I don't really remember. But I joined TAC because I saw, my sister was originally in TAC, and I saw the impact it had on her and all the people she met and all of the relationships she was able to form, and I thought that was super impactful. And I was really looking forward to doing the Better Together project because it helps us have a youth impact and a youth voice in a setting relating to controversial topics, I would say, and being able to lead a conversation where people are talking respectfully and having important conversations is really helpful, especially when a teen is leading it. Being able to bring that to Greece is really, really cool because we can both take back experience from that and help change TAC or change the Launchpad, and we can also change the way that the people at the business forum, which are mostly business men and women, and be able to teach them that youth voice is important and that they should really think about how that can change the way they operate. So that's really the main thing we're doing in Greece, and it's really cool to be able to experience the conference as a whole.
Hi, I'm Maya Austin. I'm a sophomore at Basis Prescott, and I've joined TAC about a year ago. I really was looking for a way I can make an impact into the community, and with some recommendations, TAC was an amazing opportunity. I remember applying for TAC, and one thing I was really hoping to accomplish was to better my leadership and communication skills. And fast forward to this year, I truly believe that I've achieved such. I think that through this Better Together project, I've been able to plan and lead and just help the community out. And I've really seen how these Better Together projects have made an impact in my community. And I'm really looking forward to how this Better Together project will make an impact in internationally. I know this Better Together project will give youth a voice in some mature conversations, and I believe that will uplift the youth and the future leaders of internationally to speak up for what is right through these dinners. And so I'm really looking forward to how this will make an impact internationally, as I've seen it make an impact in our Prescott community.
Okay, so at the conference, there are various other activities and breakout groups that will be happening, led by people and business leaders from across the world. So we will be participating in a lot of those, and ours is one of those activities that people will be able to sign up for. It's almost full, so that's really exciting too, knowing that these people are really excited to hear our voice and our impact and participate in this activity. So we will be having that lunch with about 75 people. The dinners that we have hosted in the past have had up to about over 200 participants in our community. So again, we're so excited to just bring this small dinners to this global conference in Greece. Yeah. I want to say one more thing.
Yes.
We are so grateful for the PUSD board, you guys, and especially to Prescott High School's administration for being so accommodating and excited for us. We are missing a lot of school and 2 very important weeks of school with finals and AP season. So this is a really big commitment for us, and we're really grateful for the accommodations that are being made for our group. So thank you all for that.
Let's questions, comments?
We have some
Yeah,
questions
I have a
for
comment
you.
as well.
Do you mind if I go first?
Oh, no, definitely.
So, great job. This is really exciting. I think, like you said, thanks to the administration for helping you get to this point with school and everything. So, I have a couple questions. Can you give us an example of some of the topics that will be included in your lunch? And then what challenges do you see compared to the dinners that you've had here? What kind of challenges do you anticipate coming from an international audience, I guess?
Yeah, so the questions that we usually had at our dinners here in Prescott were very localized, not only to Prescott but to the United States, but those topics may be very different than the issues that are concerning those internationally. So we've been doing a lot of research, and we're trying to sort of expand our questions to be more universal. The entire conference has an overarching theme of belonging, and belonging is something that everyone can relate to, for better or for worse. So those are going to be some of our topics that are related to that. There's also an overarching focus on artificial intelligence, friend or foe. So that's, again, another thing that we're going to be talking about. Do you want to talk about challenges?
I think the main challenge we're facing is being able to lead the conversation rather than spark it in the group, because normally at Better Together dinners in Prescott, some people are a little bit more shy to speak their truth and everything, and at this business conference, people are coming to speak. So we, instead of having to take it out of the people, we're trying to just lead it to the sense of belonging instead of going on tangents or getting too political, and just really focus on belonging, and that's the main thing we're focusing on.
Thank you.
Good. I was just going to make a comment in that as an adult, I've often found that communication and discourse is often even more important than consensus. So I really, really appreciate the fact that we have young teens in our community that are learning that as a skill and really working towards not just finding an answer or reaching consensus, but really truly understanding where the other side is and how to speak civilly to one another and talk about solutions, but not necessarily be demanding. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
That was, again, one of the main focuses of our Better Together dinners, wasn't to come to an agreement, but to more of just come to the consensus of agree to disagree, and that it's okay to have different opinions, and that's part of diversity, and that's something that we welcome in our community, and so that it's not about convincing someone of your own opinion or trying to bring someone to your side, but just to civilly talk through these controversial ideas.
Very mature perspective.
Very mature.
Very.
And you all looked beautiful in the
Yes.
newspaper today.
Yes.
It was I've seen these people before. Great job.
Awesome.
Are you guys still hosting dinners locally?
Yeah, so our Better Together project is coming to an end, and we're now focusing more on the teens in Prescott community. So we're sending out surveys and seeing what the teens in our community need. And so that's more focused on mental health and social media and stuff like that. But this project has impacted Prescott so much, and it's impacted the teens in the Teen Advisory Council so much that we are going to make it an annual dinner. So every November, this November specifically, there's a dinner, and you all are welcome to come and encouraged to come. And so, yeah, we'll have an annual Better Together dinner, but not
nice.
quarterly like we did before.
We'll be
Wonderful. That's amazing.
Congratulations. I think that's so amazing, especially going to Greece. That's awesome. How did this opportunity come to be? How did it end up getting noticed? Do you know about that process?
Yeah, so mainly Rebecca, a Launchpad board member, was at a similar conference to the World Beautiful Business Forum in Mexico City. I'm so sorry, remind me of the name? Hatch, the Hatch Foundation. And a group there called the Steelcase Foundation, through her, heard about the Better Together project and what TAC was doing. And this foundation was already going to the World Beautiful Business Forum, and they invited us to come along with them as a +1 kind of deal.
That's so awesome.
So, well, but we're coming under the Steelcase Foundation to the forum.
That's awesome.
Anyone else?
Very impressed.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very
Congratulations
exciting.
to you all, and thank you
Very
so much
proud of
for
you.
coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, moving on to 6B. Maya, I think you have a presentation to do for us tonight. Next up. And
Hi,
we're going to miss
everyone.
you, by the way.
You know, I feel like I'm getting set up because last time I was here, I went after a bunch of sweet kids as well, and you can't ever really hold a candle to that. Nice job. So I'm Maya Bazook. I'm the Exceptional Student Services Director. Thank you for having me here today. Really just giving kind of an overview, want to leave time at the end for questions to have an open discussion. I've heard there's questions about special ed, so I think I'll just start with some key concepts and then we can go from there. Just want to start off reading kind of our vision that's been collaboratively come to us. Students with disabilities are at the center of all we do. Through collaboration, inclusive practices, and data-driven decisions, we support each student in learning alongside peers in the least restrictive environment that meets their unique needs and strengths. Just want to start off with that framework. And then kind of what I'm going to go over is talk to everyone about our team structure here, the roles that we play, and how they benefit PUSD as a whole. Some of the big changes from a couple of years ago that kind of explain where we're at now that leads us to a conversation about our continuum, the new programs that we have. Then I'll do kind of a little summary, and then we'll talk about some questions. So this is our crew. I know I'm alone right now, but there is a whole bunch of people that support ESS. And our office is located right back there. So I'm the director. We are fortunate to have 2 instructional coaches, as well as the compliance coordinator. So they have their own slides. I'll explain their roles a little bit more, but I wanted you to see all their wonderful faces. This is Emily Frankel, our administrative assistant. She makes sure everything is running smoothly in the ESS office. Alma Kleinfelter's our Medicaid billing coordinator. Medicaid's very important. It helps generate funds for the school districts. And Kat Knutson is our records clerk and our scheduler for the district for ESS. So the important part to know about our compliance coordinator, this is a really unique role. We've had it in this last year. It's so important for a number of reasons, but a big one is that we get this annual audit from the state. Next year is going to be a really big one, cycle 4. So she's come in and really taken the regulations from the state and has already started auditing us, which is great, in a really supportive way, right, before the scary one comes. She's making sure that all of our paperwork is compliant and that everything is aligned with the regulations from the IDEA and legally sound. And she also really supports teachers and makes sure that they're feeling comfortable about that paperwork piece. Medicaid, like I mentioned earlier, is very important. It supports district-wide processes. The funding generated from there, it goes into the discretionary fund. It helps with the whole district, not just for special ed. It helps the whole system with reimbursements, and it helps to sustain our service model. 2 years ago, we started to have instructional coaches, thanks to Kelsey. She kind of led the charge on that before I started. Super amazing to have 2 coaches that are helping out pre-K through 4 and 5 through 12 with that delineation. Our coaches are, because this role can't be everywhere, they're the boots on the ground. They're the ones that are out there helping with instructional practices, trying different curriculum, really kind of helping to bridge that general education and special education relationship that's so important, and just a true support for teachers. So we're so glad that we have those coaches with us. And it begs to the portion where we really want to ensure, because we really think of our special education students as general education students first, and special ed is really just this like service that supports those standards. So our coaches help to emphasize that in working with our teachers and helping to build those partnerships, because when we come to IEP meetings, we have certain roles that have to be there, and it's much more than just the teacher. So we focus on alignment with general education instruction, support to grade level standards, and core instruction with our coaches. So part of the changes piece that I was referencing earlier, really cool, 2 years ago when I started, we got this office over here. PUSD everywhere can be everywhere and anywhere, and so they found a spot that made sense for them, and then we were able to come over here, and it's made a huge impact on the service model. Coming here, we were able to strengthen our collaborative efforts and just easy access to leadership. If I've got an issue, this world, the ESS world, collides with all of these leadership folks constantly. So I'm running up, problem solving, we can just connect with one another. We're just able to streamline and problem solve much quicker. So it was a really good move. Good job. And again, it's just increased that efficiency and reduced the delays that I think were previously a little bit of a hindrance with that previous location. We're able to consistently communicate across sites. And there's just more alignment between special education and general education, just overall. Okay, so the next big change that happened after we moved here was kind of coming through and visiting sites. The first thing I had to do was go around and talk to principals, visit sites, understand the programs. They're really different now. They have different names, different focuses, but the goal is to increase our services for more and more students. So we have sort of a wider continuum, and it's changed. After doing an extensive needs assessment, working with lots of teams, we were able to really refine our model for the district. And we also wanted to make sure we were really flexible as we were creating programs. And I'll explain that a little bit more in these other ones. So we created a new continuum, and it took several months, lots of collaboration, and these are sort of the main in-class in-person models that we have at this time for ESS. So we offer in-class support. We have a program called Resource, Extended Resource, Steps, Rise, and Pathways. And that's going from our least restrictive to kind of our most restrictive. So the in-class support is kind of just like what it sounds like. That is where we are supporting students in the classroom. Ideally, and most of the time, we have gen ed and special ed working together. They're planning together. Sometimes they can take turns teaching because the specially designed instruction piece can actually be taught by a special ed teacher or a gen ed teacher. And it's kind of nice because then we aren't singling out certain kids in class. We're able to do it in a nice, seamless way where sometimes gen ed students need help on certain concepts, and that special ed teacher can help them too. And it's really this great way to provide support in the gen ed classroom. And they're with their peers, and they're not having to leave their general ed setting. So again, that collaboration piece is really vital there. Then we have Resource, which is, and I'm kind of going through it, it's the next step out, a little bit more restrictive, but still one of our least restrictive. And when I'm referring to restrictive, it's about access to non-disabled peers, access in gen ed. So it just goes from this light amount to a little bit more with each one of these programs that I'm referencing. So Resource provides academic support for students needing a little bit more assistance beyond general education. Often it's students with learning disabilities or students that might have issues with organizational skills and have like OHI, other health impairment with ADHD. Often those are the areas, and we're trying to target skills in those programs. So they might pull out for a little short amount of time into a special education classroom and get support. Then we have one more step over to Extended Resource, a little bit more support. These are students that might be a little bit farther behind academically or have more significant behavior needs. So it's really focused on a little bit smaller groups and more support in the classroom. Students in this setting may struggle with communication issues, have emotional regulation issues, or have problems with social skills. And so this program can be, we call it an A, B, or C level of support, which means they could have less or more, but it's generally a little bit more intensive, the needs, when they come into these settings. The next step over is Steps. This is what we consider more of a specialized learning environment, previously called self-contained, where you're kind of more in a setting and you're not as much out there with gen ed. But things have changed a lot, and I'll kind of go over that in the end. So just because I'm sharing these programs, it doesn't mean that a student who's in STEPS is in STEPS all day. It's very individualized. It's based off of IEP teams. They might take these different programs, and it could be a blend of STEPS and resource or a blend of gen ed, and we individualize. So that's why there's no eligibilities listed here. It's not like all the students that have, a certain eligibility, like a mild disability, are supposed to be in the STEPS program. There's no category that's assigned to it because we want to keep it flexible. And then RISE, I came to you all last month to try to do a curriculum adoption. We're in that process for students this is the only place where we talk about a specific category, but we left it open in terms of autism and similar needs, just because students with autism do require a specific level of support, but we do have it open so that IEP teams can decide if they need, it's an intentional teaching practice that's in this program where they might need help with more sensory skills. The routines are there. There's a big visual emphasis on the learning, and it's all evidence-based. And so if kids need that level of support, then teams come together and say, RISE could be a good program for that
Maya,
student.
is RISE on one campus? Is that where?
So
across?
RISE is currently on 3 campuses. That's a good question, because not everything is everywhere.
Right.
But RISE we have a program that's K4 at Abaya Judd, and then we have the 5-8 that's over at Granite Mountain, and then we have 9-12 over at Prescott High School. That's a good question. Okay, so the next one over, this one's a little bit confusing. It's called Pathways, and it's actually considered a private school placement on a public campus. This one's heavily regulated by the state. We have to turn in an application every year to be able to have this program, so we're fortunate that we have it. These are students who are on grade level, but they struggle and they have significant emotional needs, and they do have to have that eligibility category to be in that program as a state regulation, or we will be in trouble. So just so you know, that is kind of something that doesn't have as much flexibility, but all the other programs are PUSD created at where we have it. But this program is focused, the students are on grade level academically, but they're focused on social skills. We heavily train the staff in there on our Boys Town classroom management program, and that's what we implement to be allowed to do this program through the state. And the focus is, so the students are in this self-contained setting, but they earn points, and once they earn a certain number of points, they earn their first out class. And the goal is for them to exit the program, but they have to earn points at a certain number of points, and then they exit after they get all of the points to be out in gen ed fully. And then the last one that is not, I didn't put it out there on the original first slide because it's not our in-person model, but just did want to share that this one is starting to, I had a conversation with Clark this week. I mean, and with Ms. Torres, we're starting to see a need for this coming up a little bit more frequently than I think we have in the past in terms of students that may have mental issues at home or illness or temporary conditions that might be happening at that time, and they need to learn from home. And we really like having this option so that students who do qualify are able to get a continuous education in the homebound setting. We're fortunate we have a teacher that can drive out there, or sometimes they meet in a different location. Sometimes we do it online. We just are flexible, but I did want to share that this is something that we offer when students sometimes they need surgery or there's a medical issue. We do work with kids so that they aren't missing any instruction. So homebound is a model that the IEP teams can come together and decide upon. So just overall, I know I talked fast and I kind of went through the summary, and I'm sure there's questions, but I just want to really emphasize, like I said, eligibility doesn't drive services. This is our continuum. We've sort of broadened our scope for each one of the programs. We have a larger bandwidth. And then we really heavily rely on teams to come together and look at data and decide what is the appropriate program for that student. But like I shared, it is individualized, and eligibility doesn't mean that the student automatically, like a student might have an eligibility of autism. They're not all in RISE. We have students with autism in all different programs, in Gen Ed, on 504 plans, in every one of the programs that I mentioned. So just again, emphasizing that teams come together, look at data, and make those decisions. We currently have 580 students with IEPs as of this morning, and 60 students with 504 plans. And the 580 with IEPs doesn't include private school. I hope you don't ask me a ton of questions about private school, but I will answer them. It's there are 23 that have private school eligibility. They have ISPs, so they don't have IEPs. It's a different model because they're private. 60 with 504 plans, and just overall wanted to just come to you all and share the good things that we're doing and the big changes and kind of some of the names of the programs that have evolved, and answer any questions you all might have. That's it. Questions and thank you.
I am totally impressed. This is a huge topic. This would be like if I asked Maya, hey, can you give us a presentation about, Chicago or cars or the National Park Service? There's so many different aspects of this, so many different facets. I feel like you did a really good job hitting the high points and setting us up for some great questions.
That's
Tell me a little bit
amazing.
more about Pathways. Where is it located? I think I know, but
So Pathways is, we have a K-4 program at Lincoln,
okay.
and then we have a 5-8 program at Mile High, and then we have a 9-12 at the high school. But we are looking, we're allowed to put in, I'm putting in an application to do a variance so that we have a little bit of an overlap at each grade level, meaning we learned, right? We do these programs and we learned that there were some fifth graders that may have benefited from staying at Lincoln instead of moving over to Mile High, just certain things like maturity, size, different interests. So I'm putting in an application to ask the state, I put it in May, if we can have a little bit of an overlap so that teams can talk about it and make a decision. We may have a fifth grader who's ready to go to Mile High, and in that event, teams can do it. But I'm asking for a variance for each one of those so that we have an option.
Nice. With that number of 580 IUPs, can you give us any insight on, that's what, like about 15% of our student population is on an IEP. Is that about right, Brian?
Thanks, Brian.
About 14. Yeah, very
yeah.
close,
Numbers
about
guy.
14%.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, it's
14%.
between 13 and 15.
Yeah. So I was curious, is that typical statewide and nationwide? Are we seeing that to be the case? And what is it compared to maybe even 5 or 10 years ago? If anyone just inherently knows this information. If you don't, I understand. I'm asking things that it just seemed higher to me than I expected, I think. Your 504 number seemed lower to me. So I don't know, is it maybe more readily available to people than it used to be? I don't know. I'm just curious.
This is a big area that I contemplate all the time because so first of all, to answer your question about the percentages, I think it's pretty comparable to what we have going around the state. I would say the red flags come in if you're at 20%.
Okay.
Just from what I've
Okay.
heard.
Good to know.
But a little bit higher than it used to be. I don't know about what it was 10 years ago. It's a little higher than last year. But in terms of why it's increasing, I often think about it. I wonder sometimes if some of our younger kids are maybe not as exposed to as much, because we do find that there's a lot of identifications for our youngers coming in through Child Find. When we were kids, we played with Play-Doh and we were outside and we talked to people. A lot of kids, I don't know for all, but I'm noticing a little bit of a trend. I think technology has had an impact. I think there could be impact from COVID still kind of trickling through. And I'm seeing that there's less students that can elicit the language that I think they could years ago. There's less communication, there's less fine motor development.
Right.
I suspect that, but I can't prove it.
Right.
Can I add a little bit to that? So this is a statistic that is calculated in our A to F every single year. So as we're looking at that data, PUSD is under the state, but that number over statewide is increasing every single year. So the percentage of students with IEPs in every district is increasing.
Is it just a data point in our A to F, or is the grade affected by the percentage in a positive or negative way? How does that?
It is a data point. If we are underneath the state, then we get points for that towards A to F. If we are over, then we don't get points. And so we pretty consistently get points for that. But it's also one of those really hard metrics of we don't want to underqualify, we don't want to overqualify, so we are qualifying every student as needed, and that kind of lands where it does. That's not a statistic that we can
Yeah,
really
it feels
control.
like something that shouldn't be incentivized one way or the other, but
There's a few
we all
on
think
that
that about a
8F
lot of
that are in
things,
this,
right, that
yeah.
happen in our 8F
We're
grade.
within a percentage point of the state in terms of the percent of our kids that are on IEPs.
Okay.
Very, very similar.
I think we've always felt as a board, too, we don't want to push kids out of these special programs into gen ed all the time because we might lose points when it comes to the A through F category. So I think that's really important to know as a board, that we feel like it's more important that we reach each child where they need to be met and not worry about points.
We never make sped decisions based on our A through F grade, ever.
Yes.
I've never been a part of a conversation where that's even been a consideration. We look and we see, what does this kid need, and we do that. And then when we look at data later on, we see how that impacted our grade, but we're doing what's best for kids first.
Exactly.
Right.
Maya, are you finished?
I am,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
How does the structure that you've outlined here compare to like our neighboring districts in the area? And is there any impact with this structure on out-of-district students coming into our district or requesting to come into our district?
Great question.
So, yeah, good. It is a good question. So they do, I mean, these are names that we've created, so they're PUSD names, but the local area, and I think of Humboldt and Chino, I talk to those directors frequently because we all share kids. So we have all shared our continuum, and everyone has something pretty similar.
Okay.
But I do appreciate that because when they transfer in, there is a whole process. Again, teams, we rely on our psychs heavily as well to help us to look at that and kind of figure out where the appropriate program a student would thrive most in is. But I feel good about what we have. I am seeing a lot of students transferring in. I think people are hearing about what we have to offer. I feel like we have a really nice, wide continuum of offerings. I think we have a little, maybe even a little bit more than our neighbors, but comparable programs that are there. So we're able to make it work. I mean, and generally, we have a transfer process, and we accept the student. We have 30 days to amend the IEP, so sometimes we'll get the student and really try to figure out what works, collect some data, and then it is fluid, and we want it to be fluid, you know, to make sure that we're continually moving students where they need to be so they're in their least restrictive environment and with gen ed peers as much as appropriate. So, and our teams are good at that.
Lastly on that, I'm curious about the ISPs because I know that we're required to provide.
Andy, I didn't want you to ask me about this, but it's okay. All right.
And not to put you on the spot.
That's a great
No,
question.
I know.
It's
I
something
do
that-
know a lot about it. It's just
It's-
a tough one.
Because
to
that's a
talk about
resource
sometimes.
issue for us, but we have to provide those resources, in my understanding, for students that are not part of the district. So how are you managing?
And clarify a little bit what we're talking about there, because most of us know, maybe some board members are not as familiar. Certainly there's members of the public that have no idea. They'd be blown away to hear what you're about to share with us, what that means.
Okay, so, blown away. That's a lot of pressure.
There are
Okay.
people who are going to
So, okay, so ISPs, I guess I'll just share. So students that live in Prescott boundaries, we have a child find obligation, right? Anyone who lives in Prescott, we are required to identify, test, evaluate, and provide data and identify those students that may have special needs.
Even if they're not going to our schools?
Even if they're not going to our schools, and
Even if they go to another private school?
if they
That's
go
the
to
choice
another
they make?
private school, even if their families, like say you have a family that lives in Chino Valley that sends their student to a private school in our boundaries, we are obligated to test those students. They're called parentally placed private school students. So we're obligated to do the testing. We are not obligated to write IEPs because only public schools implement IEPs. So the families, once they get the evaluation data, the family can go to the ESA office and get that Group B weight, depending on the different eligibility, or the family can take a medical diagnosis and go get the ESA information. So that's like one thing. That's state money, ESAs. Whether or not they get that is really not of our concern. But we do have to do the evaluation for the ones that live in Prescott. And then some families want to take it a step further and get an ISP, which is an individualized service plan, and that's the 23 students that I mentioned that we have. That is when we do have an obligation to provide a service to address their special need. The way that works, that is a separate pot of money. It comes out of our equitable services portion of our IDEA federal grant, totally separate from ESA. So families can choose, do I want to stick with PUSD? Do I want support? And then they get to choose from sort of a vendor list, but we do provide that service, and we provide either speech services or we provide tutoring to those families, and we work with the schools on that. We have meetings for that. We are responsible for writing the ISPs, implementing them. The private schools have no obligation to do anything. So, but it's a separate pot of money. It's federal money, separate from ESAs if they choose an ISP. Just to
Must be a
clarify.
huge pot of money that fully covers the resources that we need to provide those services, yes?
So it's not,
Oh.
it's a portion of our IDA funds, but what we do, well, okay, so that's separate. The evaluations, we get nothing for. That doesn't come out of our federal money. That's just our obligation.
And
So
prior to
we do
this year,
that.
we had a psychologist whose main portion of that person's job was taking care of kids whose families had chosen to send them to a private school, or who didn't even live, in some cases, in Prescott's boundaries, who lived in Chino, and their family chose them to send them to a private school in Prescott. We were on the hook financially for all of this
all
testing
the
that Maya's talking about. Go ahead.
And they get the ESA?
So that's a separate, that's
They
one of the
can get
options after the
ESA.
testing is done, yes.
That was the original purpose of ESAs.
Exactly.
Was this. It's now been universalized to everyone.
It's just, anyone can get an ESA, but the difference is when you qualify for different special education categories, then there is a Group B funding that's like a multiplier that you multiply times the standard ADM that any gen ed student would have, and the families can take that money as part of the ESA. But none of it comes to us. We don't have anything to do with it. Whether they take it or not is none of our concern. But when they come to me and they want an evaluation, that comes up.
We provide the service.
People want service and they want that eligibility, and there are certain ones that are higher weighted than others. But it is two separate pots. Like I said, the ESA versus the ISP. Not every family wants it. A lot of them are like, we're happy at our private school. We don't want anything from you. But 23 of those families do, and so then we have to provide services.
Sorry
Out
to
of our
put you on
federal
the spot. I just
No,
want
it's
that-
not.
I want that to be publicly known about this additional.
I honestly feel like I could do a
service.
whole other presentation on just the private
Yeah.
schools, because it really is a complex system. It shouldn't have to be, but it has become that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And expensive.
I was crunching numbers because that's what I do. Just so you know, this year, we have 525 ADM of students with an IEP. So, once again, ADM is student enrolled from the first to the 100th day. Back in 2019, we had 415. So 6-7 years ago, 415, we now 521, that's a 25% increase. Our ADM total in 2019 was 2,600, and this year it's 3,450, which is a decrease of about 4.1%. So our population has decreased 4.1%, and our special ed and number of IEPs have increased 25%. That'd be more.
Did you do that in your head, that more part?
The more part I
That's
did.
The
great.
more part, yeah, he's good at that.
Oh, yeah.
Greater than, less than skills.
More.
Other questions for Maya?
Any questions, comments, concerns? Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
learned a
That
lot
was
from listening to you tonight. things
very
that I did
thorough.
not know.
Thank you.
Great overview.
Very,
And I'll
Great.
see you again next month for curriculum
there
adoption.
you go. We're going to hear more about it.
She's in a
Moving on to
series.
6C, we are going to hear from Kelsey about our recommendation to adopt the modern language curriculum at the high school. And let's do it, girls.
All right, good evening. So we are here with a different kind of curriculum adoption. We are actually looking at modern language, which has been really fun. It's been something completely different that I haven't done before. So tonight I do have Andrea Pope, who's a Spanish teacher at the high school, and Jessica Keel Phillips, who is the instructional coach for PHS, along with our future future Badger modern language mascot, who's visiting from France today. She's too cute. So
Bonjour, I think.
this is Jessica's daughter. She tried to get us all to dress that way, but we figured it'd be cuter if she did. So thanks for showing up, Penny. We're glad you're here.
So at the high school, we offer a lot of modern language courses. We offer 2 2 levels of Spanish with 1 and 2, but then we also offer 2 dual enrollment level classes with 101, 102, and 201, 202. And then we also offer 2 levels for French and German.
Okay, so why now, right? Our materials are a bit outdated, which is maybe not that uncommon, but really the fragmentation of the resources provides like these gaps. It doesn't provide. We have these gaps in the resources that we have for the students. So the teachers are supplementing so many materials, like we don't have the resources we need to teach the skills that are required by the state standards. Oh, yes. The lack of the structured support, so I'm on this third bullet. We really want the students to learn language not in isolated ways, like just learning how to read it or just learning how to write it, but across all the skills that the state requires and through all the modalities, which is like how they're learning it. And the curriculum that we currently have doesn't provide that for the teachers in the department either.
It was interesting when we started this conversation to hear what they were using and to hear some of the examples that were in the text that they had were honestly a little comical. Kids didn't even know what some of the things were that were in those texts because they were so outdated. So it is time. Yeah. So big picture goals, these are the same for every single adoption that we have. It is to find high quality, standards aligned, evidence-based curriculum. We want all students to have access to the same content, knowledge, and skills, whether it's in Ms. Pope's classroom or Ms. Gillis's right next door. We want consistency and that systematic progression of skills from content to content. So for our timeline for the adoption process, we started actually last April. So Jessica was working with the Modern Language Department to identify what curriculum options are out there and what do those teachers want to look at. So then we had our first meeting in November of this year where we went through our same process of creating a rubric of what do we want to see from our next curriculum? What are the components that are important to us? We spent some time evaluating each of those potential curriculum options and narrowing that selection down to 2. And then in third quarter, each of our modern language teachers spent time teaching one whole unit from each of those adopted curriculums. And then in March, we had our final meeting to make our final selection and our proposal for you. So with this process, we had our committee of our entire modern language department, so Spanish, French, and German teachers, our instructional coach, and our administrators from the high school who are helping as a part of that. And I will say that Yavapai College instructors were also consulted as a part of this process just because there are those dual enrollment classes that are offered at the high school level.
So before we looked at curriculum, we wanted to establish what exactly we wanted from a curriculum. So some of the things that we were looking for is its alignment to standards. We also wanted to make sure that the pacing was balanced. We also wanted to ensure that there was a variety of resources that acknowledged the 4 modalities with reading, writing, speaking, and listening, as well as the integration of culture that was authentic based on the language-speaking countries. No, you're fine. The other thing that we were looking for was the assessment piece. So not only a variety of forms in which to assess, but that they would actually assess those 4 modalities. The other part that we were looking for was practice, making sure that the practice was varied so that students would stay engaged, but also that that practice would prepare them for the assessments. And then the last bit that we were looking for was scaffolded resources. We've got a wide range of abilities when they come to language classes, really any class, and so to be able to scaffold for those different ability groups was really important. Teacher materials, and then digital access as well.
So these are the 4 publishers that we initially looked at before we chose the 2 curriculums to pilot. And that's the one we chose, that one, Vista Higher Learning.
This was just for Andrea, because we had a hard time seeing
Yeah,
with the extra
just for me. I've never been a part of this process, and I have to say it was pretty exciting because our whole team, so everyone that Kelsey mentioned, but really just like the department and then the professional learning communities within the department, we were like meeting so much more often. So I felt like it was like exciting for me, like to collaborate with my colleagues, but also that we could really then like fine tune the evaluation criteria that Jessica mentioned. And I think everyone was excited, even though it is like an up and down process for sure. And then these are the curriculums that were chosen for the 3 different languages that we offer at Prescott High School. Also very exciting is the opportunity for us to continue collaborating if, after proposing this, it gets chosen, because this is all within the same publisher. So that really helps us have more opportunities to align and like fine tune what we're doing and focus on student learning, because even though these are different languages, we're really practicing the same standards and the same kind of like communications. And I'm back. Okay, so why Vista? Why was this the best choice for us? So after piloting, this was the one that we chose. So the curriculum is structured, which is really helpful, but also incredibly flexible. So it has variety, it has differentiation, and it has student choice. The differentiation, it's interesting, we were able to, in that piloting period, collect some data, and just with the ability of this curriculum to differentiate like some vocab, we were able to see that like students' vocab scores on like mini quizzes kind of like skyrocketed like in the same like 3rd quarter, so it wasn't like from the 1st quarter to the 3rd quarter. And then also student self-evaluation on like the standards, like how they were meeting with student examples, the state standards. Almost 100% of their examples came from this curriculum that we piloted as opposed to the other one. And again, it's integrating all the modalities. It's highlighting diverse voices from the Spanish-speaking world or from the other languages, those places that speak those languages. And abundant is maybe even an understatement. Like, there's so much resources, which is what you always want, to be able to like have that choice both for the instructor style and then for the students to choose. And then they're all centralized, which also like really has lowered the students' like nervousness about accessing maybe a curriculum that might be a little more rigorous than they've seen in the past, or that may be a little bit unfamiliar. They're like, they bought in, essentially. So increased vocabulary growth, we kind of talked about that. The built-in assessment options are great because the teachers can edit them. And again, the students can see them right in that same platform. And they have some opportunities for like auto grading, including like AI assisted, which is really helpful if it's something like simple that can give like really immediate feedback to the students. Culturally relevant, so there's like accurate, authentic resources in these target languages that we're teaching. And it's the only publisher that offers curriculum for all of these 3 languages that we teach.
From being a person who was just really facilitating this process, this last one was one I was most excited about. Because as we were going through our first few meetings, kind of hearing their different experiences with these curriculums and how they were interacting, and then in our final meeting where we started talking about Vista and they were all bouncing ideas off each other and sharing resources that they found, I was like, oh, I'm so glad this was the best option. Turned out to be the one that had all 3 different languages embedded because of what it's going to bring to that entire department. It was pretty exciting. So next steps, this is a previous step, but we already put curriculum on public display. It's on the table right outside. So the first day was April 1st. And then June 23rd, we'll bring this back after that public display period and ask you to then vote on it. If it is approved, in May, nope, sorry, that should say June. In June, we will purchase new curriculum. We will start to revise the district instructional guides. And then when school starts, we'll do training on that new curriculum for all of our modern language teachers. And so that's all we have for you. Questions?
I had one question for Andrea. I think you answered this. I just want to make sure I heard you clearly. The assessment questions that the students are doing in these 3 programs are similar to the state assessment questions? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like the standards for
Yes.
the state standards, absolutely.
Okay.
Like they're directly aligned. And the current curriculum that we have, it was published before Arizona
Okay.
adopted the current standards that it has. I'm not sure when the previous curriculum adoption was, but yes, absolutely.
Just want to double check.
Yeah.
Are there other language options if our district were to, our school was ever to offer another language? For instance, we used to offer Japanese with Mr. Clark Tenney years ago, you know, different languages that may or may not become available to students?
Through the same publisher?
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure. Andrew, do you know?
Yeah, they have more, but I couldn't name them.
Yeah.
I do know that at least one of the publishers that we saw didn't even have all of our languages. So that is all that I can share about
And
that.
was that one of your parameters in the beginning, is that it was mandatory for you to have all three languages from the same publisher? You're talking about how potentially useful that is, but that wasn't necessarily the direction you needed to go, right?
Yeah, we're really looking for the best resource for each of them.
Turned out the best German
great.
one was this publisher, the best Spanish one was this, and the best French one. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is really like interesting how we all came to it from different starting points, essentially.
So I guess maybe to address your question, if they did start up Japanese again a couple of years from now, one possibility is they could look, does this publisher have
Right.
a Japanese program? They could look at the textbooks they currently have, or they could look at a third option for that potentially.
Yeah.
So beyond a textbook, have we ever had anything that has had this many resources tied to it? I mean, is it just left up to your imagination?
No, Andrew, you want to talk a little bit about where you're pulling resources or where you have pulled resources from?
I know my kids do
last few
Duolingo.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so I think we have like, you know, a current curriculum, which is actually the same publisher. Our current curriculum in Spanish, it's different publishers for German and for French. But the entire like online component or the entire like auditory component, we don't have access to. We also don't have access to any of like the visual component, like the videos and stuff. So, I mean, it's just like YouTube, things that are approved, you know, for the district to use. There's like resources that we're creating on our own, of course. There's like I'm looking through newspapers that are around in Spanish, for example, and then I can maybe like plug them into AI and then with my own help kind of differentiate them to different levels, because those are like, you know, 3 different levels that like I teach, for example, which is a lot for sure. And then also the college offers a curriculum as well, so it's kind of like, you know, I would say like maybe 5 different kind of core places that I have that I'm like taking and kind of putting together.
So give you more focus is what you're saying in this?
Yeah, and it was interesting because it was so overwhelming, the whole process of like searching through, exciting, but there was a lot of work to kind of like search through and look at with the rubrics, these 4 different curriculums. But then when we started to pilot, specifically this one, I was like, oh, it's like easy now.
Yeah.
Because it was all in one place and there was so much stuff to choose from. And again, having that student feedback that they were actually evaluating their own success, I mean, unbeknownst to them, with this piloted curriculum, like, was very exciting for me.
That's great.
I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Oh, you did. I just want to see if there's any changes from when Brett and I took German class with Frau Krantz. And she did a whole section on Die Totenhosen, right? The heavy metal band from Germany. So I'm glad that there's a lot more streamlined curriculum these days, or potentially. Thanks.
I have a question about the language curriculum and some of the application, the apps that are available on the phone, like Duolingo, and how does that work into the curriculum in current learning situations?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of opportunity for students to like access the language outside of the classroom. I mean, more, for example, with Spanish, or more with like a particular like smaller community or family environment that students might have. Like we do have students in our district per them that speak, you know, French at home or Italian at home or German at home, which is very exciting. But I think some teachers include those like apps as like ways to like study or access the language, but this curriculum has those apps already embedded in it. Like, so for example, there's like an app similar to Duolingo that's called Quizlet, and it's like you can study the vocab, you can like gamify it, you can do flashcards, you can do quizzes, and they have their own Quizlet, but the students don't go anywhere else. They just like click on the thing that says vocab, and they do another click, and then they're just studying, and it says like, oh, these they already know, so they're going to take those out and give them the words they don't know. So that's like very exciting, again, for language teachers.
Nice. Any more comments, concerns?
Are
All
these
right.
textbooks, are they still like physical, huge textbooks, or are they online?
It's both, which is also very exciting. I'm very excited. So there's like, on the online platform, there's like the student copy, which is like the virtual text, and it's just like a click to like click on the video. So they don't have to like then go to YouTube and wait for it to load, for example, if it was a video on YouTube. Or they would click on that page in the text that says like vocab, and then immediately the vocab opens there. And then there's the teacher copy, which is on the vText, it's online as well. They're doing their homework or potentially some of their assessments or their interpersonal communication pieces, either in the classroom or at home through this same like one portal. And then there's a physical copy of a textbook for the classroom, for example, because some students learn better with the physical book. Sometimes it's a teacher preference. Sometimes we don't have access to internet, things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just want to wrap up with one final thought, and that's, we've brought quite a few curriculums to you over the last few years. First of all, because we finally have capital money where we can do that. It's a lengthy process. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And I mean, hearing Andrea's story over and over, I mean, how much time she was spending finding the what she was going to teach. By having a curriculum that gives you the what, now teachers can spend all of that time on the how they're going to do that and really monitoring student progress and building that experience for them, rather than spending hours and hours just finding resources. So it is such an important process, and it's a big investment, but to watch teachers being able to kind of make that transition is totally worth it in my book.
Any more comments? We good? All right, excited to go out and see what the stuff looks like. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, let's move on to information-only items. 7A, summary of current events. Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, super. As usual, Sarah's got a handful of slides ready for us to look at some things. The first thing I think we're going to be looking at, there we go, is this is right around the last time we met, I think. There was a flag ceremony that they do at Lincoln on a monthly basis, and oh look, there's a Goligoski in the background there. That's fantastic, fantastic. And they covered a number of things in this particular assembly. They had the typical flag ceremonies they do, but then also a little skit that it was like a full-on play that they did, and talked about their A+ designation that they recently got, and then celebrated their Read to Feed program that they had done. So it was all pretty cool. And then, do you have the message? Great. This is what, like 3 minutes long, something like that?
32.
It's less than that. So Mark Kelly, they, as part of their Read to Feed program, their theme was space theme. And so Mrs. Brusso reached out to Senator Kelly's office and said, hey, we're doing this. If the kids meet their goal, would you be willing to do a congratulatory message? And he said, I don't have anything else to do. I'm just running like 1/50th of the country. I'll do that for you. I thought that's pretty cool. So the audio on it earlier was real low. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to hear it super well. Good. Okay.
Hello, Lincoln Elementary School. I'm Senator Mark Kelly. I want to take a moment to tell you how proud I am of all of you for being part of the Reading and Feeding Challenge. You guys are doing something really special. Every day you pick up a book is a day you take charge of your future. And by turning your reading into support for local food shelters, especially those in Prescott, you're also helping families in your community. And that's real leadership. This year's theme, Launch into Reading, your space adventure begins with a book. That's one that I especially like. You know, long before I was an astronaut and went into space, I was a kid who was curious about how things worked. I read about airplanes, science, and astronauts. Those books helped me dream bigger and showed me what was possible. Years later, I had the chance to serve as a Navy pilot. I flew the space shuttle as an astronaut 4 times. And now I represent Arizona in the United States Senate. And it all started with learning and with reading. Reading is your launch pad. It can really take you anywhere you want to go. So keep reading, keep asking questions, keep exploring. Because the skills you build today can open doors to extraordinary opportunities tomorrow. Your adventure is just getting started. And a huge thank you to all of your teachers and parents for making this happen.
That's cool. So that was pretty cool.
Awesome.
For him to be able to take time and do that for our kids. I had somebody who expressed a concern about, now wait a minute, he said of a certain political party, not the other one. I said, this has absolutely nothing to do with that. We're focused on reading, we're focused on space exploration. Here's a guy who represents that pretty well. So I thought that was neat of him in his office to accommodate us that way. And a nice honor for Lincoln. Okay. Let's see here. So the next piece, this is our Prescott High School mock trial team. A lot of people ask, why don't you have anything like mock trial? We do. And they competed in a regional competition recently, did very, very well. I think they have a handful of different teams that competed in different things. And as it says there, they were on the offense at one point, on the defense at another point, et cetera. And they're moving on to the state competition at the end of this month, isn't it, Sarah? April, I can't remember, 24th or something like that. And we're excited and proud of them. And their sponsor this year's new sponsor, Mrs. Kat Vandermark, who had been teaching social studies at Mile High, moved to Prescott High School this year and just took on a bunch of things that Mrs. Lee had been doing in the past and is doing a great job. She's just knocking it out of the park, and we're super proud of these kids. Back to Lincoln, this is the Arizona Education Foundation that sponsors the A+ award. And again, it's different from the A through F letter grades that the State Board of Education has been doing for the last 8 years or so. This is something that the Arizona Ed Foundation has been doing for over 40 years. And again, super proud of the way that Lincoln's been honored. They had some folks come up that day. This is their official award of the A+ designation. And then I think on the next slide, there you go. That's a keeper right there. That picture, that's pretty neat. The entire elementary school out front.
I stood on a ladder to take that picture.
Did you really? You took that picture?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
I did. Teresa's like, will you take the picture? And then there's a ladder. I'm like, this is well above my skill level. So
well,
the fact
hopefully
that
you
there
didn't
is
go
a
any higher
photo
than
is
10
really
feet.
a miracle.
And you got them all in. You did great.
I learned recently our liability insurance doesn't cover any activities that were more than 10 feet off the ground. So hopefully you kept it to 9.5 feet.
I definitely did. I would
Good.
never go
Good
that
to hear.
far.
Good to hear. Or at least just don't fall off the ladder. Either way, right? You can do whatever you want over 10 feet as long as you don't get hurt. So there you go. This is not maybe as exciting for some folks, but this is a long time coming. So our Granite Mountain campus was intentionally built to be wide open to anything and anyone. We have bobcats and javelina that wander through every once in a while. What we don't want to have wander through is somebody with ill intent. And I'm not sure if you can see in the slide on the right, you can see kind of the rail metal fence there. Off to the left of that's a new section of chain link fence. So we've got that's 8 feet tall. Prior to that, there was just rail, and it's not even really fencing. And multiple times, I was there one time watching somebody say, oh, it's just too inconvenient to go through the office. I'll just step over this rail fence. So we had spent a fair amount of money on security things at this school, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but people could still walk onto campus. And so we talked a lot about, hey, if we're going to get a bond, this is perfect for the bond. We don't want to spend money out of what would have been the bond in advance. And I was just like, we're doing this and we're doing it yesterday. I cannot have a situation where any idiot can walk onto this campus anytime they want. So we spent $30,000 and got the fencing done all the way from the front entrance of school there, all the way down to the property line fence. And American Fence did it for us, did a great job. Was really able to retain the natural features that the kids use and the learning spaces and whatnot. So we're really glad to have a little bit of additional security at Granite Mountain. And then this is one of our students at Prescott High School who's involved in their, Adam, what's the name of the class? Is it fashion design? Is that what it is? Fashion design class. And that's one of our CTE classes, and part of that there's a statewide competition for things, and she competed in the fashion construction competition and won second place in the state overall. So we're pretty proud of Virginia there. And then I think this is our last thing. You know that our plan when we first got the billboards up was to change them out every once in a while. We had our A designation as a district for a while. We advertised that for quite some time. Then we had our different leaders who came out of PUSD that we were advertising for a long time, advertising that. outcome of the district, that kids go on to great things after they're in PUSD. And then we've shifted to a new marketing campaign that's focusing on all the different programs that we've got available that are probably absent in most of our other schools in the area.
Thanks for including Terry Pemberton.
I was just going to say the same thing. I miss seeing you up there, but Terry Pemberton's up there.
Well, actually, Andy had to negotiate strenuously with Mr. Pemberton. He was a little bit more modest and was like, I'm not sure if I want to be a part of that. And said, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It's just a thrill to see him up there.
You know how aggressive Andy can get. So he was able to push that across the finish line. So we're pretty pleased with this. We were going to put a picture of a psychologist testing a student who doesn't have anything to do with our schools as one of the other things that we offer that other people don't, but we decided, no, that's maybe not as appropriate. So this is what we went with. That's all we've got.
All right, let's go on with the governing board members. Mr. Brett, anything to report?
I've just spent a lot of the tennis courts this last month, and I got a son who's playing varsity tennis, and it's been a lot of fun. And I noticed that there's a wire that goes across our tennis courts. It's kind of annoying. So we're going to work on finding $40,000 to reroute that wire.
Okay. Thank you. And you haven't been hit by a baseball going over?
No baseballs. We did almost get hit by a softball.
Yeah. Oh, softball, is that the softball one? Yes, I almost got hit by a softball.
No, it was great. It's a great facility. I know that those tennis courts have been recently updated, and it's a fantastic facility, and I think even the away teams appreciate the nice facility that we have there. So that's all I have for reports.
Mr. Stan.
Just one thing. Attended the previous to the banner, and when Jen stood on the ladder, some of us were at the celebration the night before, and greatly attended, and just
so fun.
There's a great vibe about just the A+, and it's great that they boast it, and as they should. So yeah, I love seeing it.
All right.
Mr. Andy, what's up?
I was able to attend the art exhibition at Prescott High School for our district art students, which was once again incredible. I mean, so much talent. Was able to go to the Lincoln Family Festival the night before. And today at PHS, I was in the hallway and was able to see our honors chemistry class taking rockets out to the field that they were going to shoot off with vinegar and part of their, so just kind of an all-around cool thing to see. And that's it.
That's it?
Well, no, actually, one last thing.
I
did speak to our CTE director today as well, Tiffany, and just curious so there's testing that's done for our CTE students as well. And she mentioned to me that our auto shop has their test scores last year were the highest in the state, #1 in the state. Our film and media, I don't know if she said it was 90% or 100%, but they have a pass rate of 90 to 100%. And there was one other class, maybe it was the fashion class, that they have a testing rate of 90 to 100%. So as we talk about testing and why aren't our students doing better, this is not reported, and I think this is data that needs to be made public, that our career and technical education students are at the top of the state in testing. So hopefully we can get that data and use it in the materials we put out to the community, that our students in career and technical education are.
That's a great idea. We've talked before in here that our advanced placement testing data from this last year was stellar as well. And people can continue to focus only on ELA and science and math. Those are core pieces of what we do, but that's not all of what we do.
Right.
And I think that's a great idea to be more intentional about including that in the reporting that we do. I appreciate that.
I think that's one of the reasons why I like the student presentations. The more we have students from CTED come, and the more we have kids from AP classes come, perhaps, and talk about what they're doing, I think that gets out to the larger group of people we have here tonight. But it's just, I think we need to celebrate more of the things that we are doing well and the great kids that are going through our schools.
Right.
Jen, anything?
Well, I was clearly at Lincoln. For both events, I got to borrow a friend's son and take him to the festival the night before, and just really fun to watch the kids just have a ball. And one of the PTA moms said one of her favorite joys was handing out pizza to kids and kids saying, can they have more? And they're never allowed to have more, and they were allowed to have as much as they wanted of cookies and pizza. So they were pretty excited about it. And the event was really great just to hear the next day how everything came together, and the students were so excited. My other thing isn't really, I got to do it, but my son Mason was one of the students that went to Spain this spring break, and I am just so grateful to Kat Hammer and the other teachers and leaders that took bravely all these students to another country. I mean, it was something just to leave him at the airport was scary to me, and she like embraced it all. It was incredibly well organized. She communicated perfectly through WhatsApp with a parent group that gave us photos all throughout the trip and just kept us up to date on all the neat things they were seeing. Mason loved every minute of it, had a fabulous experience. So it was really great for him to get to go. So I highly recommend it. And I am thrilled that we as a school keep doing this and keep sending kids. And next year it's Japan. I don't know if my kid's going, but we haven't talked that far. We thought we'd get through Spain, see what happens.
Okay, a couple things I did as well. I went to the Lincoln A+ Assembly with Jen. I got to go see the Mile High and Prescott High School choir presentation, which was amazing. They're doing their final spring one. Their final spring one will be Broadway, which I can't wait. That's going to be so fun. I went to a volleyball game last week, which was kind of fun. I'm still not quite up on the rules. It's changed so much since when I played volleyball, but it's fun to watch. And one of my most exciting things at the high school, I went to freshman night, where prospective freshmen from the eighth grade came to see what was going on at Prescott High. I was overwhelmed with the energy in the room and the work that the teachers had done to make these presentations of what we have at Prescott High. I mean, they went all out. It wasn't just go meet a teacher and say hello. It was, they had presentation boards, they had activities. It was just so full of energy. I think Adam would agree with that. It was like on fire, the whole building. It was so exciting to see kids. Parking lot was full. I had to park out way past the teacher's closet to even get a spot, which should have told me immediately this is going to be pretty fun activity. It was amazing. If you haven't had a chance, go next year.
Adam,
That's it for me.
do the freshmen know not to step on the badger? Is this?
They are, yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a fence now, but.
Thank you for that.
All
I
right.
just want to make sure.
How about Shay and Jackson? What you got?
All right, so I also went to Future Freshman Night for S Club. I was at the booth. I saw a lot of you. That was really awesome. I met a lot of really great people, so that was amazing. S Club is an all-women's service project club. Yeah. Anyways, so S Club also participated in the Butte Creek restoration, which is basically Prescott College is putting on exactly that, the Butte Creek restoration, to restore the creek by the campus. And we got to go and help out, and we shoveled wood chips, stuff like that. We had a great time overall. We're also doing a thrift drive for St. Vincent de Paul right now, which super awesome. I think that will be wrapping up shortly. I have a lot of clothes right now to bring, so I'm really excited about that. Also, tomorrow is the Lions Club dinner. It's a 4.0 thing. I'm not really sure about the rest of it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, I'm super excited about that.
I will see you there. Yep.
Mr. Neely, how many of our students are being honored as having a 4.0 or higher GPA?
Well, we have more than we'll be able to attend because they
Sure.
only have 100 slots for kids there. But yeah, no, we have, I believe that we had this year 64 kids who qualified under that 4.0, which is pretty wild. And we should see in the 40s, high 40s of them.
We've had in the past, kids are, they've got a baseball game that evening or a commitment someplace else or whatnot. These are some of our most involved kids in addition to being really sharp kids. So yeah, it'll be neat. You'll be there as well, right? We've got a couple board members and myself and you that'll be there with you, Shay. So we'll be cheering you on.
Thank you.
I'm also going to be at the Lions Club dinner tomorrow. But so...
I didn't want to ask just in case it was like 3.98 or something like that.
Volunteer,
No.
you'd be there.
Go ahead.
But the Abaya Judd Scholarship opportunity at PHS was just due today. So I know a couple people at least who applied for that. And then the senior splashing game starts on Friday. So that should be fun. little scary, but fun. Oh, and then prom is coming up, so that's exciting. Yeah.
Good. All right, let's go on to 7B, community comments shared with the governing board. Does anybody have anything to bring up? Looks like Brett does.
I got a
Okay,
list.
he's got a list.
So I talked to one community member that wanted to know why we took all the American flags out of the school classrooms, and
Shoot, people weren't supposed to find out about that.
and in our study of the policies today, I have some data to send to her, and that's not true. We didn't take the American flags out of the classroom.
So not only did we not take them out of all the classrooms, we didn't take them out of a single classroom. I don't know how stuff like this gets started. It just drives me up a wall. Go ahead, sorry.
And we have them in all classrooms.
Yes.
Is the fact.
Yes.
Okay, that's a great clarification, and I will respond to the community member. I also had another community member that talked about one of the rants and raves about in the Courier this last month about poor test scores, and she was a little more astute than the average person, and we talked a little bit about how there's a different level of accountability in some of the other schools, and she's a proponent of public education. And another thing that she said that I really liked, we talked about when we're going out for the bond and the override, and how if we want to recruit professionals and we want lower wait times at our physician's office, that we need to strengthen our schools. And she said something I really liked. She says we need to let them know that we are all connected. We're not in little silos. The retirement, the people that are raising children, but she says we need to let everybody know that we're all connected. And I loved that piece. And then I talked to another parent who was at the freshman night, and they are actually transferring from another school in our area, and their freshmen went there and rounded a corner, and one of the upperclassmen said, hey, called them by name, gave him a high five, said, how you doing? And how that just made this future freshman just beam, and I loved the culture of that night. I thought there was a lot of good energy there, and neat to see our upperclassmen put their arms around our entering freshman students. And that's all I have about community feedback.
All right, anybody else have anything to share?
Yeah, I had a parent was concerned about class sizes at Taylor Hicks, particularly third grade going into next year, and they have 4 boys in the district, and very active, and she's a former school teacher herself, but great family. But she heard that the class size maximum was 35, but obviously that's the high school, and so exactly. So
That's just the class where we took the flag out of the room.
That's
No,
right, same classroom.
And the voting box?
So we discussed that, and I actually encouraged her to reach out to you, to kind of get, because you're so responsive and whatnot, so that was good. And then we all received a great message from a parent who has a daughter going to Lincoln, whose grandmother graduated from PHS in 1926, and it was just amazing that she just is filled with joy that there's this history and this tradition, and I'm sure we were all moved by it. And for me, my response to her, and I didn't include everybody for open meeting law violations, but Janelle's grandfather, Dr. Taylor Hicks, graduated in 1927, so they obviously were classmates and at the same time, so that was kind of a neat deal. So that's it.
Right, Andy?
I was just going to say the same thing about the email. Her response back to me was that her grandmother went on to be an educator and a school librarian, and that her schooling here in Prescott definitely set her up to do that. So again, kind of it's just those connections that you see, families, generations continuing their education here in this community, and that's something I think to be proud of. The other thing was in doing some volunteer work over the weekend, a couple weekends ago, talked to a lot of people who had questions about funding in the state of Arizona, and I think there is a lot of concern out there about when you actually get into a discussion about, well, I didn't know that private schools don't have to test their students on the state standardized testing, and yet they're receiving state funding. And so there's a lot of questions out there and a lot of lack of knowledge of what's actually happening. So I think our upcoming discussion will need to make sure that that information is shared widely about how these things affect us.
I don't really have anything new. A lot of the same conversations around finances. I get a lot of questions about that
I would
on a
say the
regular
same.
basis.
Yeah. Same with me. Mostly, a lot of people not clear on the difference between a bond and an override, is what I've heard a lot of just chit chat.
That's an easy
So
one.
that's an easy one to talk to you about. It's pretty simple. All right, moving on. 8, the consent agenda. For those of you that don't know, all the items on the consent agenda can be approved by one motion. It saves a little time, and so let's take a look at the resolutions. Do I have a motion to include all the items that are listed on the consent agenda at this time?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a show of hands or an aye or whatever? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay, and passes 8-5 to 0. I always so close to getting through tonight without a mess. All right, let's move on to the study and voting session. Ms. Sarah, do we have anyone who would like to speak on that? We do not. All right. All right, well, let's move on to 8B1. Well, we will look at consider approving the service trips to Kenya and Mexico as part of the Interact District, and that will be presented by, looks like Melissa, correct? Yes, of course.
Hello, I am Melissa Monday. I am a PHS teacher, and I'm also the Interact Club advisor. This is my very first year. I am very excited, especially because I have 2 daughters who are part of the club. And for those of you who don't know, Interact, the name actually is International Action, and we are a community service club. We collect mobility devices throughout the year as one of our projects, and then we are also sponsored by Rotary. Our specific sponsor is the Sun Up Rotary. They're amazing to collaborate with. There are 529 Rotary districts around the world. Our Rotary district here in Arizona is the only one that has an international leadership training and service opportunity. This includes allowing students to apply to go to either Mexico or Kenya, and they get to go and they get to take the mobility devices that have been collected, like walkers, the wheelchairs, and the crutches, and they get to take those that were shipped either to Mexico or Kenya, and they get to help distribute those to those in need. The team that goes to Mexico does more of the fixing and putting together of these devices, and the team that goes to Kenya does a little bit more of meeting the locals and communicating with them. So they have a program where our students can apply to be ambassadors. We have had ambassadors for the last 5 years go to this, be part of this program. Last year we had 3 ambassadors. This year we again have 3 ambassadors. I think is amazing. We have, our high school is the one that has the most ambassadors. I think that's something that we're really proud of. So this year we have a current sophomore, my daughter, is going to go to Mexico, and then we have 2 current seniors who are going to be going to Kenya. This is not just a trip where they get to go and just, you know, do fun things. It's the purpose of going is this leadership and this community service. They meet weekly up to this event, and they learn about the culture, and they learn about how to provide leadership locally. So it's a really great program. The entire program costs about $60,000. Rotary is very committed to this program. Each of our students has to raise $1,000 and on their own, and then they also, like our clubs, all raise money as well. So the Mexico trip, they go for about 10 days.
They leave on June 15th. Kenya is a little bit longer with travel. They are going to leave around June 26th. And they're very excited. Our students are so excited. Such a great opportunity for them.
I had one quick question. I just didn't know this. In Kenya, it says that the first week of their time will be hosted by Prescott College.
Yes,
That's
Prescott
our
has-
Prescott College.
Yeah, they have a
I did not
camp,
know
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the students, the Rotary here works with the Rotaries there, so it's not just random people that they go to. It's actual Rotary members, and they stay in really secure locations.
It's very cool.
Very good. Any other comments about that? Okie dokie. We need to, where am I at? Do I have a motion to approve our service trips to Kenya and Mexico as part of the Interact District 5495 Ambassador Program, as presented by Melissa?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No, passes 5-0. All right, 8B2, consider approving an overnight camping trip. Adam, you're up for PHS to the this is for Bradshaw Pines Camp, correct?
No.
Yeah, I think you have to
Yep.
hear me twice, sadly,
I do.
so
We
I
have to hear you
apologize ahead of
twice.
time for that.
First Bradshaw, then San Juan. Okay.
That's right,
You're
yeah.
up.
So first we have our yearly junior ROTC camping trip out to Bradshaw Pines. It'll be a total of about 50 people, including chaperones, going there. They've been doing this for a little bit, but now that it's a requirement for overnight trips, we're asking for your approval. But this is a big one. They get to do some learning. They obviously get to have some fun as well.
All right, any questions, comments? Do we have a motion to approve this overnight camping trip for the PHS JROTC students on May 1st, 2026?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. And Adam's up again to consider approving the out-of-state travel for the Challenge Club to the San Juan River in Utah from April 8th through April 12th.
Yes, and so, well, first of all, I apologize that this didn't come in front of you earlier. It should
It's
have.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's
yes, it is.
little,
tomorrow.
It's a little
I was trying to see
soon.
which one of you was going to notice first, and Jen had it immediately. So,
I thought it, when I read it, I'm like, wow, that's.
no, I'm just trying to be funny. But no, this is one that has been a traditional trip. This is like the highlight of the Challenge program. These kids come back just so proud of what they've accomplished. It is a very, very special trip, and I think that somewhere along the lines, the consistency of coming in front of you and asking, it slipped through the cracks, so we do apologize for that. So we are asking that we can have them head to the San Juan River. 14 students, I believe there are also 5 adults who would be on this trip this time around. So it is a really neat experience, and I don't always get to get tons of feedback on this. I got to talk to a student who went last year who I don't know that had really participated in a lot of challenge items before, and she described it as life-altering. Like, it was that special of a moment, and I think that it's just one of those things where they got to experience something so special that will stay with them forever, and I think that's why we stand in front of you asking for these experiences for our kids.
Any questions?
Is this the same
You
one
wanna
that Joe
go?
Howard did?
Yeah,
I'd
it
love
is.
to.
It is.
A few years ago? Okay, great.
We could do that
Are-
next year.
Yeah,
Are
Joe
these
went on
all-
this one before.
So I know that we have ACT testing and Aspire testing coming up. Are these all sophomores and seniors going on this, or?
No, we do have a couple who are going to have to do makeup testing, but
Okay,
we've
so
already
they have
worked
makeup.
that
Already
out.
worked that out?
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a natural thing
Okay.
that happens when it comes to a high school our size, is we'll have a few who will
Yeah.
have to do some makeup testing.
Okay.
But yes, for those of you who
Okay.
don't know, tomorrow's a big day for Prescott High School. ACT for 11th graders, 9th graders, ACT Aspire, and we're going to knock it out of the park.
12th graders get the day off.
12th graders have at-home
At-home
learning.
learning.
So,
At-home learning.
They will have assignments in every one of their
At home,
classes
don't
to
forget
take
that
care
one
of,
too.
despite what the two of them are hoping right now.
At
Do you
home
do you
learning
remember
tomorrow.
approving a day off for seniors? That would be up to you.
We're going to check in with you two tomorrow.
You set the calendar.
Any questions? All right, do we have a motion to approve this out-of-state travel request for the Challenge Club to go to the San Juan River beginning tomorrow through April 12th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes 5-0.
You
have
They've
fun.
probably done a lot of
Yeah.
hacking.
I was ready to tell them to turn that bus around.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Can't miss those testing. All right. Moving onward and upward. B4, 8B4. We're being asked to consider approving the variance issued by the Arizona Department of Education, waiving the requirement to make up a school day because of the snow day closure on Friday, February 20th, and that will be Mr. Clark.
So moved.
So moved.
And seconded.
I think you're aware of the situation, right?
Yes.
We missed a day of school because of the icy road conditions and streets department and whatnot getting with us and saying, you shouldn't do this. Turned out to probably be a really good decision in terms of student safety, but it means that we miss one of the required 180 days, knocked us down to 179. Applied to the state for a variance because we're way over the required instructional hours throughout the year. They said no problem at all. But officially, the board does need to vote to adjust the calendar and accept the variance that we've been offered by the
Okay.
state.
Do we have a motion to approve the variance?
Still moved.
Seconded.
Second. All those who approve of the variance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Passes 5-0. All right, 8B5. We have a chance to consider adopting our new K-4 math curriculum. I don't know how much interest we've had out there. I've been out there about 4 times looking through the books, and I am very happy with what I'm seeing. So,
I think you were one of the few who looked at it, Jane.
One of the
so
few?
Thank you, yes. We had no public comment.
None at all?
None at all, no. So no public feedback. I know they could have done it online or in person. So just a quick reminder for you, last month, no, 2 months ago, the committee brought to you their final selection, which was Amplified Desmos. And so if you go to that next slide. Just a few of the reasons why this was the selection from the committee. First of all, moving away from Engage New York, which is entirely a free online curriculum with very minimal supports. It was a challenge now that it's no longer supported online. So Amplified Desmos, it is coherent. It is standards aligned. I will tell you, our teachers love it. I think they'd be upset if we tried to take it away from them at this point. They're invested. It engages students in problem solving, discussion, and sense making. When we just talked about modern language, how teachers are not taking so much time in what they're teaching, they're now focused on the how they're teaching that content. And this really brings all of those best practices for math into it. With that excellent lesson structure, so it really makes sense to students. They understand the flow from lesson to lesson. Go to that next one. I need to go to that one. So differentiation, again, is built in. So there's on-level supports, there's intervention supports, there's enrichment supports, there's embedded screening tools, so assessments, progress monitoring tools. It does combine both print materials and digital materials, which is really big for kids now. They need that both modalities. Within there, there's teacher guidance. For this is important. This is a big difference between Engage New York and Amplify Desmos because Engage New York did not have teacher supports. So there was no instructional strategies. We could put this in front of a brand new teacher or a veteran teacher, and if they follow along, they're going to be doing an amazing job. There's family supports, which is great. How often do we hear parents say, I don't know how to do this math, I don't understand what's happening. So there's support so that they can help their students at home, and it's user-friendly for both students and teachers. So if this is adopted, our next steps are to purchase the curriculum. We would start that process probably later this week. And we're already looking at dates to revise our instructional guides so we fit the pacing and the flow of Amplify. And then when school starts back in August, and I love being able to say August this year instead of July, we will train our staff on Amplify Desmos. Yes. So.
Any questions? All right, do I have a motion to accept our new math program as outlined by Kelsey?
I'll make that motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adopting our new math program signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noise? No. Tops 5-0. Awesome. All right. Moving on. Let's see. I think I should probably read this one, 8B7, as it's written. This is a pretty AB6 as it's written. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
We need to consider, discuss, amend if desired, and if deemed advisable, to adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special bond election to be held in and for the district, and authorizing our chief financial officer to comply with certain sections of the Internal Revenue Code. Clark and Brian.
Okay. Brian and I have spent, I was going to say discretionary time. We don't have a lot of discretionary time, but a lot of our time, a lot of our work time over the last little bit, in conjunction with Sarah, getting with elections, consultants. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Lawyers, et cetera, about what we need to do. I'm starting to feel like that this process is intentionally complex and not just casually complex, but either way, it's complex. But we've got some sample ballot language for you, for what it would look like for a bond. This has been vetted by the attorneys and whatnot, and as it mentions here, you can amend any of this. So Sarah, help, and Brian, help me out. I haven't looked through. Do we have the figures, the initial figures of 20 million embedded in this, or not?
You do.
There you go. Super. So that's of course up to you. This is a sample. This is a template that you can use. If you like it the way it is, fantastic. If you say, hey, we want to do 2 million, fine. If you say we want to do what's standard in Arizona, we're going to do 100 million, also fine. You've had discussions around this. Right, our total bonding capacity, Brian, remind me, $439 million?
Yeah, it's just north of $400 million.
Yeah, I think it was $439 million based on the property values in Prescott, the total amount of property wealth that there is. I don't think you're looking at that amount. And actually that would, for the first time ever, we'd have resources exceeding our needs. But we're looking to come in pretty skinny, I think, from discussions that the board has had. So we'll let you discuss and determine what you want to determine, and ask any questions you've got.
Brian, anything to add to that?
No, I'm just really interested in hearing your conversations and
We've done a
what you
lot
kind
of
of land on.
discussion already. Do we have any further comments or questions or concerns before we actually vote?
Is the wording in here, I mean, I've looked through it, but not with a fine-tooth comb. Is there anything we need to be worried about in here that needs to be changed, or is it kind of a standard boilerplate that comes out?
In the resolution, you mean? Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
it's standard, isn't it?
the resolution specifically comes from our council.
And I could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We can't.
No. You have to ask in advance and apply to do that. You can't just.
I'm your counsel.
Mr. Gill.
Oh, of course. I apologize. That's right. Please do.
This is Jim. He just
Hi, Jim.
came.
You can say whatever you want.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I can leave too if you want.
No, we're super glad you're here. I apologize. I forgot you're going to try to join us. Thank you.
Good question. First of all, I'm Jim Gill with Gus Rosenfeld. I'm your election counsel in this context, but also your bond counsel. And I have been for many years, happily so. So I was involved with your prior bond election back in 2015, I believe, and you failed over not too long ago. But in any event, good question. That ballot language you're seeing was taken pretty much from Arizona statute.
Okay.
All those bullet points. It's what voters are used to seeing, and we don't deviate much from it. And the parameters in there to focus on really are the $20 million, and the bond shall not exceed 12% interest rate. Of course, your banker, Stifel Nichols, will tell you that the market is way under. We price bonds today at like 4.5%, but that's today's market. Who knows what it'll be next year? And then, of course, up to 20 years, which is the statutory maximum under Arizona law. You can go out for 20 years, and that's typically what most school districts do. The name of the game really is managing your tax rate, and Stifel is really good at that. And so they'll massage it, if you will, the various maturities over that 20-year period, so to do the least damage, if you will, to your tax rate.
And that's where those tax rates came in the tables that I shared and amended after we did sit down and have a lengthy meeting with Stifel as well.
And Jim, I have to apologize. We were on a video conference earlier in the week, but your camera wasn't on, so I didn't put the name with the face and the role. Thank you so much for being here.
I am notorious for that, but yeah, but I'm here tonight, happily so. If there are any other questions on the resolution, it is our kind of standard form. You might question a couple things. We talk about a possible all-mail ballot election. We're just
preserving our flexibility if something happened at the legislature or whatever reason, or with the federal government for that matter. But again, this is our standard form. We have you setting the deadline for the receipt of pro-con statements by the county as August 7th. That's the county's deadline. You really don't have any input, but the statute says you have to say that. So that's why we have you saying it. Because this is a bond election we're addressing first, the board does not have the opportunity to submit a pro statement. You may do so as individuals, but not as a board. It's a different answer when we get to the override. The board is required to submit a pro statement. Oddly enough, that's just the way the statute works.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just thought that was an interesting fact. Thank you.
Jim, if I apologize, if I'm remembering correctly on that point, the district, though, is asked to submit wording for the information pamphlet regarding the bond?
Yeah, so assuming the board approves it tonight, our next step is to turn toward the voter information pamphlet. You might recall every household in the district with a registered elector will get a voter information pamphlet that we draft. Both the district and the county and Stiefel will have input on. It's designed to be the kind of a one-stop shop to provide folks with election information. It tells folks what the district plans to use the bond proceeds for over the 3-year spending period of the bonds, how much it's going to cost them with estimated tax rates and an estimated bond maturity schedule. So it's all built into the pamphlet, and plus the pro-con statements at the end of the pamphlet. Hopefully few cons, hopefully lots of pros, but that's up to voters how they want to submit them. But the takeaway on the pro-con statements, they are limited to 200 words, no matter who submits them, whether it's from a board member or anyone. Also, the voter information pamphlet is pretty much prescribed by statute, so we don't add a whole lot. There is a little bit of room. We've seen some districts build in frequently asked questions to make it a little more user-friendly, so it's not just 5 paragraphs in a row of text. So we've seen that with some success, lots of bullet points, things of that nature. But we'll get to that if, assuming you want to go forward.
Okay. So, based on what I'm hearing, we're approving both sets of language, whether this is an all-mail or in-person, depending on what happens.
Yeah, so good question. So basically, the board is delegating to district administration to work with me and the county.
Okay.
And then to conduct the election, however the county is going to conduct the election.
Right.
In theory, you could do the election on your own. I don't think a school district has done that in many, many years, decades. So we all work with the county, and fortunately, you have a very good county. We work with Yavapai County every year for at least 2 or 3 school districts. It seems like last year it was the turn of the districts north of Mingus Mountain, and they all did overrides successfully. And this year it seems to be the districts south of Mingus Mountain that are looking at bond elections, including you and possibly Humboldt and possibly Camp Verde and maybe some others. So it's been a good environment lately in Yavapai County. So we'll see.
Thank you.
I would just want to bring out the table that Brian provided to all of us. What we have worded in it at this current time is $20 million. And the average, it changes over the years. I don't know that everybody understands that. We have a sunsetting bond, so it'll be a little different in the beginning, and then it changes throughout time. But it averages to be $25.60 for the average homeowner per year. That is an annual amount, correct?
Correct. That's for what we took a $650,000 market home and had, I think it was a $360,000 limited assessed value. Turned out to be that average over what Steve did as the number of years for the bond. Correct.
Can you tell us again, Brian, how much bonding capacity we have as a district?
Once again, it's based upon the property value, and so we could ask for a bond north of $400 million. So 436, I think it is, based on last year's assessed value of the properties within Prescott Unified.
Yeah, and we see other districts doing certainly far more than 20 million. You gave us rates though for 15, 20, 30, and 40. 30 million being $39.85 a year, and 40 million being $52.91 a year. I just want to make sure our public is aware, because they don't necessarily see what we see in this moment, when we're thinking about it. Can you tell us what kind of impact $20 million can have, and is that a significant enough impact compared to the
I'm interested in this answer.
That's an extremely loaded question.
I like to set him up for some hard ones.
If for state adequately funded education, then 20 million is probably adequate. It would be able to provide us stuff that we have lists of, A things that we need to do now versus, all the way down to Z, which is last on the list. Unfortunately, given that it's only 7 or so years ago, 9 years ago, that they started bringing back the district additional assistance or capital funding. $20 million will get us through the next time we need to ask for a bond, which may not last to, just like the 2015, we will not pay that off until 2033. This one, based on the projection schedule, I think what's the last year, does it say that on that?
47, 48.
Yeah, 47, 48. I think whoever is administration at that time and the late 2030s are going to have to ask for a bond again. It's just with prices, with construction, with our buildings averaging 80 years old, and it's not like we're in a position to even ask the school facilities board for a new school. Our costs are just going to keep on going. We finally are able to have curriculum, which we have a cycle for that. So everything coming to you in front with curriculum is going to probably be cyclical. In 5 years, the same curriculum, other 7 years. So my answer is absolutely not. It's not sufficient. I think it's what we could get our voters to say yes to, and our list has more things than probably what that 20 million would get us. That was a really roundabout way of answering that question.
It was very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything they want to add to that? Are we still?
So just as one example, a point of comparison, you've seen the list that we've shared with you of potential bond projects and how we said these are kind of A priorities and B priorities. I'm just looking at how many lines of A priorities we have. Oh my gosh. I think there's 48 different projects that we've said, if we have bond money, we have to do that. And one of them, as an example, is new lights on the baseball field at Prescott High School. That's one small area of one of our campuses, something that gets used periodically. Those lights will cost us, the bid that we've got is for $981,000. That'd be 5% of the entire bond would go to that. Is it going to spread around to everything we need to do in the district? It's absolutely not. I would agree with Brian. But you need to think in terms of what do we need and what's likely to pass or what's not likely to pass, and balance those things in your mind. That's what you've been talking about for a while.
Just, if you think $20 million, one gen ed bus will be 1% of that money. And that's today's prices.
Yeah. And you're aware that one of the buses we have on the road regularly has over 250,000 miles on it. We need to replace our buses. Now, that's not common. That's not all of our buses, right? We've got many buses that are newer than that. One of the buses that we press into service that's working okay, but it's not going to work okay forever. It'll need to be replaced.
So what am I hearing you say tonight? Are we still happy with the 20? Are we thinking we might want to increase that? All of our previous discussions have been pretty much based on a ceiling at 20.
I like 20, and I like being able to go out and tell the community that we're still very conservative with their money.
Absolutely.
This is extremely conservative.
It's their money, and we can be confident in the fact that there's no waste in this district. And I like 20 million.
Stan?
Absolutely.
Andy?
I think this is, the thing I was going to say is like we continue to butt up against this idea of, not another dime until our test scores improve.
I think there's a campaign right now for the rants in the paper.
I've told my plants at home I'm not going to water them again until they get greener.
Yeah. Well,
once they get greener, then I'm going to start watering.
On that note, you don't ever hear that with road construction. Nobody says, not a dime more until these roads are repaired. Well, you're not going to repair the roads without money.
Right.
It's just such a,
and it's similar
it's an unserious argument.
Kelsey's this Mississippi Miracle thing going around. They put a ton of money
well, and that's
into
what's
their
frustrating.
K4,
is
and
like
people don't know that.
I would love to go for a higher amount because we need it, but the fact is, it's not a serious argument, because there will never be test scores high enough for them to vote to increase taxes so that we can get the funding that we need. So I'm okay with 20. I wish we could do more, but realistically, I just don't think it's an argument that's winnable.
Jen?
I agree.
Okay, I reluctantly agree.
For what it's worth, since we have the press and some of the public here, our test scores are pretty good. We're in the top 20% in the entire state, in spite of the fact they're starving us to death. So if they stop starving us to death, we could probably do even better, but as is, we're all right. That's a red herring argument in multiple respects. I agree
And that's
with you.
why I say it's an unserious argument, because
Right.
there is no
They're not gonna
winning
be
that
satisfied.
argument. We cannot have a good discussion about that, because it's always going to be your test scores, your test scores, your test scores. When we can talk about the improvements we've made, our class grading, all on the system that they want us evaluated on, is not up to their standards all of a sudden when we need additional money to pay our teachers to put the facilities in good order. So it's a frustrating argument, and I'm tired of having it, but we need to have this
Okay.
done.
Yeah, and hopefully upon the yes vote, and, people will see what's on the list, adjust things to keep kids safe in an environment that they can thrive, keep up with technology, because it's going to ever change. What we have now is not going to be the same in 5 years. Right. And so, it's kind of like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's those basic things that we're trying to keep up and provide for our kids so they can learn to their potential.
And in all of our newly adopted curriculums, we're looking for a really rigorous curriculum, and we're going that way. That's the way our teachers want to go. That aligns to the standards. So we're doing what we need to do.
But when we pay for that, we can't pay for furniture.
That's good.
We've got to get some money
Gotta
for
bring their
furniture.
own furniture.
We need both.
I do have a question. What happens if the bond doesn't get passed?
We don't buy all
We
these
don't.
things.
We try again later.
Yeah, we'd have to try
really,
again later, truly.
we don't have contingency money for the amount of even just technology, the amount of Chromebooks and Chrome carts that need to be replaced just at the high school is beyond our budget, and we don't have answers.
And I've heard people
That's
in the
the
community
adequate
say,
funding part.
why didn't you set aside the money the state gave you for that? The state didn't give us a dime for that, not a dime for those things. That's why we didn't set it aside. This is the funding mechanism for that kind of thing, and if it doesn't happen, we just have to get by until we can ask again. And
Well, actually, Shay, I think the best answer is we will do absolutely our best that every student will not feel
The pain.
that.
we're pretty good.
Because that's what we're good. We're good at not showing the bleeding, and sometimes it's to our detriment because people think that we're just doing fine with what they're giving as second funded, lowest funded state in Arizona per pupil. So we'll make it work because that's what we do.
That's
And we'll
because
make it
that's
so
the
the kids
profession
don't
that
feel
we're
it.
in. The kids always come first.
Absolutely.
That's how we are built. Everybody up at this table is built like that. The kids come first, and we suffer the consequences. All right, are we ready to vote, children? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read the whole thing again. 8B6, do I have a motion to adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special bond election to be held in and for the district, and authorizing the chief financial officer to comply with certain sections of the Internal Revenue Code?
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes by 5-0. Good job, guys.
So, and just to clarify, the figure set at $20 million, as is in this template.
And that is in here, right?
Okay, great.
All right. Onward and upward. 8B7. We need to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling a special budget override election to be held in and for the district, and declaring the deadline for submitting arguments for and against the election to the Yavapai County School Superintendent by August the 7th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Any discussion on this one? And we're looking at the language is the 7%, I believe.
The template that we've provided you is 7%. Again, that amount's completely up to you. That's not predetermined.
We have the numbers on that.
And the only thing I would add to that is that the maximum under state law is 15%.
Right.
As you probably know. Most districts are at 15%. So 7% is an unusual number from my perspective, but certainly legal. And again, it's all about the tax rate.
Right.
The math works however you do it, whether it's 7% or, my point is, it's good for 5 years at 7%, and then it phases down. So the math is in here, in that second recital to show you what the phase down looks like. But when you're starting at 7, the phase down gets pretty small by year 7. So, but that's entirely, up to you what number you want to choose. We have seen odd numbers, if you will, like 7% before. It's just not that common.
And we did a 4.66% in 2015. That was really odd.
But it passed, so, and the year before, we had done 8?
You asked for 8.
In
Am I right?
2020, they upped it.
I mean,
to
in
ask for-
2013, we did 8, I believe, and it did not pass, so then we went with 4.66 in 2015.
Yeah, the whole point of the 4.66 and 15 million in 2015 was to have
keep it
the
the
same
same.
tax rate as the sunsetting bond that was from 2000.
Right.
So that's where the
Right.
odd number came from.
And you had talked conceptually about if you do go for 7%, which again is up to you, 5% of that toward staff salaries, all staff, I think is just some of the conversation that you've had. Again, you can completely go a different direction if you'd like. And then 2% of that allocated to each school on basically a per ADM basis to bring down class sizes. We'd have enough for roughly 2 teachers worth 2 full-time equivalent positions at the high school and 1 at each of the other schools, with a little less at the smaller schools, Lincoln and whatnot. Again, if we've got very large biology classes this year and large sped classes, Adam could say, great, that's where I'm going to allocate it this year. I'm going to hire another biology teacher, another sped teacher, et cetera. Or if 3rd grade at Taylor Hicks is actually going to be larger than usual, which I don't know that it will be, but if it were actually going to be larger, Kevin Hilton could say that's where we need to hire another teacher. And that would be built in with that 2% if you choose to allocate it that way.
Is that spelled out in this resolution? Is it that detailed as to how the 7% will be broken down within our budget?
No, not within the resolution. When we get to the voter information pamphlet, there's a table where we're required to disclose the expected use in the first year of the override proceeds.
Okay. Is that something you see regularly, is that the raise is incrementally less so that you have opportunity to reduce class sizes in other ways and make sure we're...
Yeah, that's what I tend to see, absolutely. Yeah. And what I also tend to see in the pamphlet is, and this is a fairly recent development, I would say over the past 10 years or so, a district will often make the factual statement, because within the pamphlet it is factual only, not opinions. You could factually describe what the impact of not getting this override through. So what might be on the chopping block, so to speak, if the override doesn't pass. Districts have been doing that without challenge lately. But again, it's got to be factual, and it's got to be what the expected cuts could or would be. So district administration can consider that, but we've seen it quite a bit. As the budget gets more challenging, statewide.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate the governing board's thought process with the 7%, with essentially a 4.97% raise from the 7% override, only because we have seen our community not do a continuation in 5 years. And essentially, if we did do the 15 and win all the raises, in 5 years, we would have to come up with 1/3 of that money generated every year for 3 years before it went to nothing. And without staff pay cuts, I don't know how we would do that.
Yeah, it's hard enough not to get a decent pay raise, but we've talked about this before. A pay cut would be
devastating.
Really, really difficult scenario in which to retain our best teachers.
A lot of staff would not even have been here when the vote happened.
Right.
They were new hires, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, next year you came into the district and you have to take a 10% pay cut.
Right.
Yeah, there were a lot of us that were here when we had the froze for, what was it, 8 years?
8 years.
8 years
Remember that?
froze.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got
Except for
nothing
one for teachers and one per class.
Yep. Any more
I'm in favor
discussion?
of the 7%.
Stan, 7?
Absolutely.
7, 7. All right. Are we
I
ready?
think I would just want to,
Yep,
since I said it in the bond side, I want to make sure it's mentioned that it's a $53 impact to our tax impact on the average home in Prescott.
Correct.
And that'll be made clear in the voter information pamphlet. There's a whole schedule that tells the voter what the impact is on the average residential, single-family property, commercial, industrial, agricultural, all the different uses, and we can assign different amounts. The statute has particular amounts we have to have, but we can have other amounts in there as well. We often include the average, and we also include 100,000. Just to make the math easy for folks.
Right.
So there are different ways to do it, but we make it clear what the estimated tax impact will be. Just a couple of other things I'll mention. On the form of the ballot attached as Exhibit A, you'll see in big bold letters, budget increase, yes, budget increase, no. And that's what the voter's going to see, that increase, because that's required by statute. My point is that if this is successful in November, and we come back to you in 4 or 5 years down the road before it starts phasing down, you won't have that word increase on your ballot 4 or 5 years down the road. You'll say budget continuation. And that could be read differently by the voter, perhaps more favorably, that we're just continuing an existing override. So just most districts do it that way. They'll go back to their voters every 4 or 5 years. They never want to get near a phase down. But lots of districts have voters, electorate who approve everything they put in front of them. So I understand all districts are different.
Right.
So, but just consider that in the timing. If possible, you'd like to avoid having to use the word increase in the future.
Well, and I think if our 5-year hadn't been 2020, we very well may have had a lot more success than we did with it being the 2020 election and COVID and all that was going on.
COVID, and it said increase.
Right.
I mean, it did
Right.
say increase. It did not say continuation, which.
Oh, ours did say increase?
It did, because they increased from
from
4.66 to
4.
8%.
Gotcha.
So it was not a continuation, it was an
Yeah,
increase.
it was a tough year
reset.
anyway. I don't know that anything
It
would
was-
have gotten by.
It's a different time,
Yeah.
and this will.
And I think we have a much better, we've seen our voters supporting education more in recent years than we used to, I believe.
Here locally,
And-
yeah.
And I have so many positive conversations within our community that I think we're all believers that our community can do this. So I agree. I think the 7% is the way to go. And making sure people, we just have to make sure people understand that it could have been 15, right? We could be asking for a lot, and we're trying to be very mindful of our taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. Watching what happened last year with the other side of the mountain in those districts, they were very deliberate about their numbers. They didn't ask for extra on top of it. And I think that really resonated with the voters. We want to do the same here. So we're learning lessons from, adjacent districts as well. So well said.
Yeah, and there could be room, if you want to do that, in the pamphlet to even mention the statutory max is 15, you're only going for 7, that's factual. So, just consider, you can make that. I've not seen that argument made, but, I wouldn't call it an argument. It's just what the statute says.
Right.
So we could consider saying that.
And you mentioned that we, as a board, are required to submit a pro statement for the override portion. Are we, as board members, also allowed to individually on the override as well?
Good question. You may, as individual citizens, as voters within the district, just like anyone else under the same terms. There is a limit, though. There's only 10 pro statements and up to 10 con statements that will be in the pamphlet. You, as a board, get the very first one, and we'll be back to you with a very short resolution approving that by the county's August 7th deadline. But you, as individuals, may do so as well. Just as long as you're not using district resources to do that, you're using your own time, your own postage, your own email, what have you. So no district fingerprints on it at all. That's a statute 15511 where we can't use district resources to influence an election. So you're doing so, but you may use your board title if you want. That's perfectly fair game. The same rules for district administration, they can do the same. So as well as local politicians, we often see that with some success. If the mayor or a supervisor or a legislator, for that matter, want to submit on behalf of the district, we often see that on the pro side.
Are we limited in the same way on the bond with 10 and 10?
Yeah, again, it's a quirk of a statute. There is no limit on the bond side. So yeah,
What a weird world you live in. I don't even know how you
They
keep
weren't
it all
drafting
straight.
those two, 15491 and 15481, at the same time. We've
Yeah.
submitted that comment to them to fix it, and it hasn't been fixed.
Interesting.
Is it the
Okay.
is it the first 10, or is how?
Yeah,
So we have to ask
technically, it's the
question
first
that's
10 that get submitted to the county, so it is a bit of a race. But you,
Okay.
as a board, on the override side, will get the first one.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
As a board, but
As a
then,
board.
and they're one of the 10?
And you are one of the 10.
Right, and it may not be as strategically wise to have our voice heard again if there's 9 other supporters in our community that will come forward, right? I mean, let's hear from other also pro statements versus taking all of those spots for when we already get the first spot with our voice.
Is there a way, though, to, I mean, you'd hate to leave one of those spots and have a poor statement, you know what I'm saying? Like, do we help try to manufacture that by getting people with titles, or can you not do that?
Well, good question. Not as a board, but as individual citizens, you can. But again, you're not doing it as a board. We have seen cases where board members run the PAC, for example. I'm not recommending that, but we've seen it done successfully because the statute, as well as the Attorney General's guidelines from 2004, make it clear that this board does not lose its civil liberties. You guys have the same liberties as anyone else to engage in political activities, as long as you're not using district resources.
Right.
You can do like a Black Friday thing where you camp
Yeah.
out outside of the county office.
And you just turn them in.
And then just, got 9 people that are PAC chosen.
Right.
Turn 'em in.
When I was on the PAC in 2015, we were very strategic about pro statements. I don't think I knew that we were limited to 10. I don't remember that from then.
Well, the county will police it, it's in the statute, so the county will just cut it off at some point. I've heard, I haven't heard of Yavapai County, I've heard from some counties, there have been some efforts at larger districts where the pro statements all look the same. It's just one that someone drafts and then circulates, and then a bunch of people submit the same exact one. At some point, the county stopped putting that one in the pamphlet
Right.
because it's the same one.
Yeah.
So they have some discretion. And they also have discretion to police them for factually inaccurate statements. That was a fairly recent change because there was some stuff down in the valley where folks were making sarcastic statements and they didn't know how to read it, but now they can be more assertive, and the statute requires them to police non-factual, and they'll actually have an engagement with whoever authored the pro or con, usually it's on the con side, and have some discourse about how it might change.
Nice.
And our county office was excellent at that in the 2020, getting factual information from statements that were submitted.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So just really quickly, if, Brian, you have these figures again, for a $650,000 home, if we go with a $20 million bond, if somebody approves that, and they approve the 7% override, what's the total amount of tax increase that people are looking at? I think it's also important for people to, it's right around $76, $77,
Yeah,
$78.
based on the chart,
$78.83.
just under $79.
Okay, super.
And
So
this
that's-
is the assessed value, not Zillow's
No,
prices.
that's a market
Correct.
value, that's a market
And
value.
it's
And then
10% of that limited assessed value, so
That's what people will be
$78.
taxed on, yes, yeah.
For a 360-some thousand limited assessed value house, which is right around in the 600,000 market value.
So that's a figure that's of note to me as I'm thinking of talking points. Another one is, we've mentioned earlier, the override ask is less than half of what you're statutorily allowed to ask for. The bond ask is less than 9% of what you're statutorily allowed to ask for. You are coming in really skinny and really conservative. There's a lot of conservative people in this community, and hopefully they'll appreciate that and support what you're doing rather than reject it.
No more comments? All right. I'm going to read this whole thing as it's written. B7, do I have a motion to adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special budget override election to be held in and for the district and declaring the deadline for submitting arguments for and against the election to the Yavapai County School Superintendent as August 7th, 2026 at 5 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And the motion passes 5-0.
Do we need to make a mention that we agreed on 7%?
That's what's in the.
That's in the template, but
That's
yeah,
the way
it's
written
worth
in the
clarifying that
template,
verbally
but
as
it's-
well.
We should probably, yes. Do I need to restate that?
No.
Because it's in the verbiage.
Yeah, I think it's clear, it's in the resolution.
It's right, it is.
If you want to
Right.
change it, you would have needed to be very clear that you're changing it.
Right.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
And for
coming.
making the trip
Yeah,
here, and it was very helpful.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
To
And
have your
my editorial, I
information.
go to a lot of school board meetings. This is one of the most collegial groups I have seen. It helps to get out of the valley for sure, but this is really good for lots of reasons.
Well, then we're sorry we
Thank
almost
you.
threw you out of the meeting
No,
earlier.
no, no.
Hey, sit down.
What
I
are you
am
doing?
the bouncer.
Yeah, I was in your lobby taking another board meeting on my laptop, so that's why I couldn't come in early and say
Yeah.
hi. So,
Yeah.
yes, but it was good
Thank
to be here
you.
tonight.
Well, thank
When
you.
I was here about 10 years ago, you had a bond framed in the lobby at your office west of here.
Yes.
I don't know if that bond has made it over here. It was from 1906.
We've
which
got
is
it
why-
upstairs.
You've got it upstairs,
Yeah.
okay. Because I have a photo of it. I just love it. It's before statehood, so that's pretty awesome.
That's
So,
amazing.
anyway, it was good to be
$1,000,
here.
I think, right?
$1,000, exactly, with $60 authorized denoms, little coupons on there. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Travel
Well, thank you for
safely.
coming.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much for coming. Travel safely back to the valley.
Hey, Jane, can I just say, given this is my 22nd year as administrator in this district, I just thank you. It is a privilege working for a governing board that believes in what we do and our community so much that you guys just did what you did for our staff, for our students, and for our community, so thank you.
You know, it reminds me of what the kids from Launchpad said. It's that communication with each other and discourse, and it doesn't necessarily always lead to a consensus on the board, but it's congenial. We get along with each other, and we submit different opinions, and we always manage to come up with, I think, the right decision, and
Yeah.
it's refreshing.
You have different
It's
point
so
of
much
views.
better,
Yeah, thank you to you guys, seriously.
right? Steve?
Thank
So
you,
much
Brian.
better, right?
It's,
Better together.
yeah.
And it's better with the right people together, which we.
You know, I want,
happy Michigan man.
Yes, go Michigan.
It's going to be happy for like a week after that game
Yeah.
last night.
I
what
was
Brett
rooting for
said at
them.
at the last special meeting that we had, I think just keeps resonating with me, is we have to do what's right for our students.
That's right.
And
Yep.
that, you know, no matter what we think of the numbers or anything like that, we have to think of what's best for them first.
And I think
we're
that's, we
trying to
do that.
do
I think we're
right
on
now.
board with that.
So,
It's truly amazing.
yeah.
All right.
Now the hard work begins.
Yeah.
8C,
Yes, indeed.
information and discussion items. Mr. Moore, the summary report
As presented.
As presented.
as presented. It's good enough for me. Is that good enough for you guys?
Yes.
Do we have to have a motion for that?
No,
No, I
this is
didn't
just
think so, 'cause
information.
it's just a discussion item. All right. Do we have any ideas for future agenda items that you would like to see? I'm always in favor of kids. You know, I don't know if we could ever do an AP things somehow, where we have a presentation of what we offer in this district and what sort of students we're, I mean,
are going to sit up for like, I'm studying,
Yeah.
I'm studying.
yeah, might not be able to come, but I'm not sure people are aware of how many AP classes we even offer in this district.
Right.
I
13.
don't know. Yeah, we know that, but does everybody else know that? I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
Is that what you
Just
like?
Yeah.
Would you like
Food for
presentation
thought.
on
I
that
don't
in the
know. Would
next
anybody else
couple months?
consider that interesting?
Yeah.
Just to,
Kind of the AP or gifted, all that, you know, that, you know, what do we, you know, what do we have going on? That would be something.
I can't volunteer my own child because he would kill me, but I think if anyone wanted to come and share what their experience was traveling to Spain, I think when we can highlight opportunities like that. I was in the office and I said he was going to Spain with school, and one of the workers there is a PHS grad, and she's like, we went to Charlotte Hall Museum, and what's happening that he's going to Spain. It was just very great, but we afford them amazing opportunities through our district that I think is pretty spectacular. Again, I'm not sure my child would ever be willing to actually
think
get
your
up and
child would do a
speak.
good job.
However, he would do a fabulous job, but
He would do a
his
fabulous
willingness may not be there.
Okay. 8C3, meeting dates. Our next regular study and voting session is on Tuesday, May 5th at 5 p.m. We'll have a, do we have a, no, we're done?
We are done with
We are
those
done with the,
study
with the trust? Woo-hoo. Okay.
We'll have to go to vote on it.
All right.
But we're
So,
done with the study session.
all right, study sessions are done, so we're set for May 2nd at 5 p.m. There is a professional development day on Monday, May the 4th, the day before our meeting, for half day for students. Anything else for the good of the order? We are adjourned, and it's only 8 o'clock, Brett.